It's NFC North time. The Packers, the Lions, the Bears, the Vikings. Who got better? And what players are breakout players to watch in camp, in preseason, in the NFC North on today's Peacock and Williamson?
NFL analyst Brian Peacock and former NFL scout Matt Williamson bring you expert NFL analysis every day in less than 30 minutes. Get an inside look at the NFL on the field and in the front office with elite breakdowns to next-level analysis and in-depth information only for the real NFL fans. This is Peacock and Williamson, and it starts now.
Welcome to the Peacock and Williamson NFL Show. Brian Peacock alongside Matt Williamson at BD Peacock at Williamson NFL. Thanks everybody for making us your first listen on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Love our everydayers. Thanks for hanging with us, getting ready for 2025. Maybe the best division in football, the NFC North. It's going to be a really fun one and a lot of intriguing players, a lot of potential breakout players, and some movement potentially at the top of the division. We'll start with the Detroit Lions here first. Tell a friend about the Locked On Podcast Network and Peacock and Williamson specifically, by the way. And if you're not subscribed up, I know a lot of everydayers aren't even subbed up. So subscribe whether you're watching on YouTube or anywhere you listen to your podcasts. And get those questions in for this week's mailbag as well at BD Peacock at Williamson NFL. Actually, Williamson's not going to be around for this week's mailbag. So just hit me up at BD Peacock or in the YouTube comments. Matt going off on vacation before he hits Latrobe, PA, and Steelers camp. So training camp upon us. Veterans about to report to training camps around the NFL. And in the NFC North, it is the Detroit Lions that are trying to defend that thing. They've been a powerhouse team now for a couple of seasons. And there's been some changeover. And I think when you look at the Detroit Lions and try to answer the two questions we're answering with all these teams is, did they get better? And who are the breakout players to watch in this series as we preview these teams? And for the first part of this with the Detroit Lions, did they get better? It's hard to get better than where they were, especially when you lose both coordinators and maybe the most important member of your offense. And that's including star players like Amon-Ra St. Brown or your quarterback in Jared Goff. They lost their star center in Frank Ragnow.
Yeah, and I think Dan Campbell's a really good coach, and I would hire him in a second. But I think this will be a very telling season for him. A very challenging season for him. Interior O-line changes, almost certainly for the worst. Coaching changes across the board, which better or worse, who knows, but that's just a challenge for a head guy no matter what. Obviously, they'll start the season much healthier on defense than they finished it. I mean, that's a promising thing. I think the defense is trending the right direction in a big way, including a first-round pick on that side of the ball. But they also, unlike a lot of seasons in, long time memory in Detroit, have massive expectations. Like 9-8 ain't going to cut it. You know what I mean? Like this team is supposed to be a contender. They were not a Final Four team last year. And we just know how this league is. As popular as Campbell is, as fun as this team is, if they come in third in this division, win 9 or 10 games, get bumped in the first round, the backlash is not going to be great. You know what I mean? So, can Goff win the big one? What kind of coach is Campbell? All these guys are getting paid. So it's a real critical time in Lions development. And I'm not saying their window's closing. I do think it's open, but it's probably closing more than it's opening.
And losing their offensive coordinator, who was by all accounts a superstar offensive coordinator, gets a head coach job in Ben Johnson. And actually hung around probably one extra year than he needed to in Detroit, and then goes to the division rival Bears. So interesting one there. And so a lot of eyes on John Morton, offensive coordinator, Kelvin Shepard, the defensive coordinator, and how things change there. Quickly, just looking at the offensive side of the football, and Graham Glasgow, likely the guy who steps in for Frank Ragnow at center. And the Lions did draft second round. Was it second round? Yeah, round 2, number 57 overall, Tate Radledge, guard out of Georgia. So you have 2 new starters on the offensive line potentially if Radledge, as a rookie, wins that right guard job.
Yeah, I mean, everyone knows about Ragnow leaving, but Kevin Zeitler's been a really good player for a lot of years too. I know he's up in age, but having a consistent, steady, professional guard has a lot of value as well. And not only are they changing those two spots, obviously there's going to be new starters there. You kind of hinted at it. Glasnow has a history of playing center. Mahogany played a lot of center at Boston College. They've talked about Ratledge like he's a center. So I'm not even sure who's going to fit where necessarily. There's 3 guys for 2 jobs. I'm sure Glasnow will be one of them. They all have some center background, but who's going to be center, who's going to be guard, that stuff still needs to be shaked out too,
And the Lions double dipped on the offensive line and drafted Miles Frazier out of LSU in round 5 as well. So he could be in the mix and competing. And then, who knows, maybe it's
guard probably
more difficult for rookies to jump in at center in a lot of ways. So, Ratledge could be a guy who starts guard, then jumps into center. Mahogany is a younger player as well. And so I would guess they'd go with the veteran at center. And then who knows, maybe Frazier is a guard of the future. Ratledge is the center of the future, and they shovel things up again next year. But the bookend for the veterans there with Taylor Decker and obviously maybe the best offensive lineman in football right now, and Penei Sewell on the right side. So that's good at least.
And I commend the Lions. Unlike some teams, they didn't need Mahogany when they drafted him. They didn't, they go 2 interior offensive linemen in this draft. I mean, they're like the Eagles where they're going to keep throwing draft picks at the most important spots. So, I mean, they recognize it. I mean, none of them are going to be Frank Ragnow, but, at least they're on top of it.
Yeah, it's been on both lines, and they did it on the defensive line as well. And obviously had Aiden Hutchinson, and then you bring in DJ Reader in the offseason. In past seasons, and then you bring in like the next DJ Reader and Tyleik Williams in the first round of this draft. And I love Tyleik Williams, and I'm glad he got into the first round because I think he's a stud and he's an absolute powerhouse of he can play that true nose in this day and age of NFL with how powerful he is on the interior out of Ohio State. But I think he's got a little bit of juice to give you at least some push as well. He's a player that you can have out there on every down, and there might be more sack production than in college. In the NFL for Tyleik Williams. And, you already have DJ Reader in the middle, Aleem McNeil as well. And so I love that. Keeping a strength to strength. And obviously the big question there, where's the pass rush? Aside from Aiden Hutchinson, when Aiden Hutchinson went out, that hurts your team, obviously. I mean, this is a 15-win team last year, Matt, so they could lose a couple more games and still win the division.
Absolutely. And I love the interior of their D-line, as you mentioned. A lot of big human beings, power players, nose tackle types. That fits the persona of Campbell and the team as they build it on both lines of scrimmage. I wonder if there's another shoe to drop. I mean, there are some veteran mercenary pass rushers out there. Could they be the team if Hendrickson happens to move or something like that? I don't know if that'll happen or not, but I would think that they're still open to adding somebody opposite Hutchinson, because as great as he played, clearly they weren't the same when he went out last year,
A lot of good players on the back end as well. Kirby Jones and Brian Branch, two of the better young, safety tandems in the NFL. Terry and Arnold, the first rounder from last year. We might talk about him a little bit later in the program as well. Did they get better? No. This is one of the very few teams where it's pretty clear that they did not get better from last year. That doesn't mean they're going to be bad, and they had some room. And really, it's more. They didn't for sure get a lot worse, but there's just a lot more questions than there used to be with the Detroit Lions coming into this season.
Yeah, there's some roles that need filled, interior O-line, coaches, etc. And we'll see. I would be shocked if they're better. Now, that doesn't mean Lions fans, they can't win the Super Bowl. They absolutely can.
Well, if the Lions might not have ownership of the division in 2025, who's the team that could overtake them? The Minnesota Vikings got a new quarterback. Green Bay Packers, Chicago Bears, the big up-and-comers in this division. Did they get better? And breakout players to watch in the North next. Today's episode of Peacock and Williamson is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. It's summertime, so we've got summertime sports, and that means very soon NFL football is going to start, and you can already bet on week 1 and get in on that NFL action. College football, tons of NFL props. Bet on your favorite team to win the Super Bowl, but with summer sports in full swing, maybe you're all about baseball under the lights every single day, post All-Star game now, and golf on the green, high-stakes soccer action, all of it at FanDuel, the best way to make every game even more exciting, and you're already following the action, so why not make it a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburnt on the beach, and heck, you can get sunburnt on the beach along with them and pull up that FanDuel app and get involved with all the new daily promotions and so many fun ways to bet. Live same game parlays if you feel a baseball game maybe changing as it gets into the ninth inning and you feel that momentum shift. And if you're new to FanDuel, great. New customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Just open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. This is an ad by BetterHelp. Workplace stress, it's at an all-time high. 61%, in fact, of global workforce is reporting higher than normal stress levels. This summer is the perfect time to take small steps to focus on your wellness and manage the challenges that come with your workday. Of course, most of us can't just quit our jobs or take endless vacations, but we can start small, whether it's getting outside for a few minutes, adding movement into your day, or talking to someone who can help you navigate life's challenges. That's where BetterHelp comes in. Set healthier boundaries at work. Therapy can help with so many things, so stress doesn't spill over to the rest of your life. And I love the flexibility of online therapy. Makes it easy to fit sessions into a busy schedule no matter where you are. And as the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise. So unwind from work with BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at BetterHelp.com/lockedon. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. Moving on to the second place team. And man, I mean, what a powerhouse division this was. 15-2 Detroit Lions last year. The Sam Darnold-led Minnesota Vikings 14-3 record. It collapsed a little bit on them at the end of the season. And Sam Darnold now moves on to the Seattle Seahawks. So just a fascinating team for me in Minnesota this season with the guy who they thought might take over from Sam Darnold after a few weeks, but missed his entire rookie year in JJ McCarthy. So that's what it's all about. Like all eyes on JJ McCarthy and the Minnesota Vikings here. Did the Minnesota Vikings get better in 2025, Matt?
Well, we kind of just had this conversation with the Lions, and I didn't put this correlation together until just now, but a real facelift on the interior O-line and the interior D-line. I mean, they went out and got veterans on defense that have had a lot of success in this league, and a combination of veterans and first-round pick on the interior O-line. They already have tackles. Darisaw comes back. So I love that approach from the Lions, especially or from the Vikings, because you got to battle the Lions. If they're going to be strong up the middle, we better be strong up the middle. I'm a huge fan of the Vikings head coach, and I'm not doubting him. I hope people don't think this. But just because he turned Darnold's career around, does that mean McCarthy's just going to follow suit? You know, we can't just assume that, he's in the best system he could possibly be in. He's got an amazing wide receiver, a great head coach. So this basically rookie quarterback will be great. I mean, he might be. I'm kind of leaning towards that he'll be impressive, but great enough to beat the Lions, Bears, and Packers in this division. I mean, that's a leap of faith.
It's not a given. And
right.
No guarantee when it comes to quarterbacks in the NFL. But I believe in JJ McCarthy and I believe in Kevin O'Connell. So I tend to think it's going to happen. And I'm buying stock in JJ McCarthy. But man, even if he hits, it sometimes takes young quarterbacks a little while. And this wasn't a guy who just slung it all over the place in college either. I mean, clearly he had the ability to do it. He played for a Harbaugh team in college. We talked about the AFC West and Jim Harbaugh and how they're building their football team. It's not a high volume passing system when you play for Jim Harbaugh. So we'll see how that translates to the NFL. He's got weapons though. Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison. You got
suspension maybe coming with Addison.
Well, that's
too.
right.
There's a little bit of news floating around on him. Yeah,
a little bit of news. It was there.
I don't know. I think it's still pending. I'm not. Okay. When we recorded this, I did not see a definitive, but they're expecting maybe a 3-game suspension.
You bring in Jordan Mason to be a little bit of a hammer and maybe a closer to go with Aaron Jones there, the veteran running back, TJ Hawkinson at tight end. So there's a nice little Darisaw, if he comes back and he's healthy and 100% and ready to go at left tackles, an awesome bookend to have with Brian O'Neill there for a young quarterback. So it's a pretty good situation as far as coach, weapons to throw to. I mean, one of, if not the best wide receivers in the NFL in Justin Jefferson, bookend tackles to protect your young quarterback. It's a good situation to be dropped into if you're JJ McCarthy, and you had a chance to at least take some mental reps for a year in that offense. So it's not like he's a rookie, even though he's going to be a first-year starter.
Maybe the best situation to be dropped into. I mean, Philly's right there, of course, but you factor in the coach and Jefferson. I mean, it's a phenomenal situation. And I do think it will work out. I mean, I'm not doubting the plan by any stretch. But again, expectations are high. You win as many games as you did last year, 9-8 isn't going to be satisfactory. And in a first round bump in the playoffs, could it be a success story? Yes, I expect it to. Does that mean you can beat Stafford, Mayfield, Love, Goff, Hurts in the playoffs? Jaden Daniels, Dak? I don't know. That's another level.
I think a big boon for the Vikings is they didn't lose Brian Flores in the offseason. So
Huge.
you still got the defensive coordinator there. And
Yeah.
I want to mention the draft as well. They added Donovan Jackson, number 24, kind of went higher than I thought. But, man, he played great at offensive tackle when Josh Simmons was out at Ohio State, but projects more to a guard in the NFL. But he might have an opportunity to play tackle, at some point because he proved he could do it. And to get drafted as high as he did, it might make me think that they view a guy that could start at guard and kick out to tackle like he did in college and do that in the NFL as well. But I do want to talk about the defensive side of the football because you bring in Jonathan Allen, you keep Brian Flores. You have some young players that need to develop in the pass rush department. Andrew Van Ginkel's been phenomenal for them. Dallas Turner. You still got Harrison Smith hanging around. It's an interesting defense that I think has played better than its parts, and that's why it's so important to keep Brian Flores.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he makes a wonderful meal out of so-so ingredients.
Yeah. And they didn't really do much. I mean, they added Jonathan Allen, and that's Javon Hargrave as well. Forgot about him. He's in the middle as well. So they did add a couple of defensive linemen, more of the power variety than the pass rush variety there on the defensive front.
Yeah. No, I like where they're at, but it's brutal division. And do they have a top quarterback? Probably not yet.
We will revisit this team when we talk about some potential breakout players, though, for sure.
Yeah.
In the NFC North. Let's talk Green Bay Packers first, though, Matt. Did the Green Bay Packers get better this offseason? They finally did it. They drafted a first-round wide receiver in Matthew Golden.
I love that. This is another team. I mean, this division's real put up or shut up to me right now, especially these top three teams where Jordan Love, I really like his development. And I think he dealt with injuries pretty much throughout the entire year. So I give him credit for that. I expect him to be not a breakout. We know who he is, but I think he will take a step forward and clearly be entrenched as a top 10 type of quarterback in this league when we talk about this next year. But this is the youngest team in the league, and that's great. And I like the way they've team built for the most part. I've been a little critical that they don't have a superstar, at any position. That it's a good roster, but there's not a dominant, Bosa, somebody like that to close games out for them. But the fact that it's a young, developing roster has been a wonderful story. But now it's time to be the best team in the division. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to hear about how they're developing well and they got these nice group of young receivers and Love's promising. Go win 12 games and win the division. Now it's that time to take a step.
Yeah, and I think of my guy, Peter Bukowski, the host of Locked On Packers, and he always has these off-season knockdown, drag-out fights, and he's talking about how good Jordan Love is and why he's better than this quarterback, why he's better than that quarterback. You shouldn't need to have that conversation.
Right. It's time for those to go away.
Yeah. Jordan Love's the best quarterback in the division, right? You got a first-round wide receiver now to go with some other stud, like second, third.
A lot of players.
There's a lot of really good talent on that team, and I actually kind of liked their collection of wide receivers. Now, Christian Watson, eternally injured, it seems like, and so I think that's part of the Matthew Golden thing there as well. And so you have Jaden Reed, who's awesome in the slot. Romeo Dobbs is a nice player as well with Watson and Dontavian Wicks. I think he's underrated. They bring in Savion Williams as well to be sort of, we'll see what he does in this offense. Bo Melton might even make the team. Like this is a really deep group now of pass catchers. You got a star running back in Josh Jacobs. You got Marshawn Lloyd, who was a day 2 running back backing him up, a potential breakout player there. Tucker Kraft has been awesome, better than the guy drafted ahead of him in Luke Musgrave, but still a good 2-man tight end group there, and a lot of really good versatile offensive linemen. Elkton Jenkins, the guy that could literally start at 5 positions, and so is Zach Tom. I mean, just a really good group on offense. But you're right. Who becomes that star? Is it Love? Is it Matthew Golden? Josh Jacobs, I guess, could argue is kind of the star player there. But there's a lot of really good and not a lot of great on the Packers roster.
My point is who keeps opposing coordinators up at night before you play the Packers? I mean, that awesome edge rusher or the Fred Warner or even a Kyle Hamilton or a Stingley, let alone a Jefferson, on offense. They don't have that guy. They don't have a lot of weaknesses either, though,
Yeah. I would say on defense, and it's the middle linebacker is not really a position that you stay up at night and, build your offense around beating, but Edgerrin Cooper could vault into that next group on defense and be like, okay, here's a star guy on that side of the ball. Because Lucas Van Ness hasn't become that. Devontae Wyatt hasn't become that. Kenny Clark and Carl Brooks are really good players, but they're not that. Rashawn Gary looked like he could become that and then kind of didn't. And so, yeah. And obviously, Jerry Alexander gone now as well. So some questions in the back end of this defense. Did they get better? I don't know. Even with the first round receiver, it's hard to say that they got better. I think they need to put up or shut up. I think is a really good way to put it, Matt. That is that's kind of what a lot of these teams in the division are about.
I want to focus on Cooper just for a second because you brought him up. He's on my breakout candidate list, and he kind of already did. I mean, he finished the season really, really enticing, to be honest. And if I had to pick a linebacker in the league that could possibly be the next Fred Warner in 2-3 years, it might be Cooper. And I forget what podcast I was listening to yesterday, but I found this really interesting. I mean, I think people at this point realize young linebackers really struggle transitioning to the league. That's really, really hard on them. But Warner really wasn't a true linebacker in college. Neither was Cooper. He was kind of this weird overhang guy, flat player. Neither was Zach Bond. Maybe it's better to just learn the position here,
Well, and it's also better to have a coverage background in college than just be that guy who can run and hit. Because all the run and hit guys, and they run 4.4, and they look the part, they get to the NFL, and their head's spinning because they can't play backwards.
Yeah. I just thought that was interesting, that maybe three of the most enticing and definitely two of the best linebackers really weren't true linebackers in college.
Yeah, I'm all about bulking up those safeties and finding the overhang players in college, because it's the most like NFL football, and you have to do the most at those positions. And it's similar to tight end, where you just got to learn so much, and it's a tough transition to go in the NFL because you have to learn the run game, the pass game, and generally guys at 21 years old just aren't ready for that.
Yeah, absolutely. There's just a lot of mental and a lot of reading, and Shanahan's messing with your mind, and
right. Yeah. All the motion and the play action, and you got to get to your spots, and you got to cover even better athletes than you did before, and you didn't have to cover anybody in college, and whoever, George Kittle. So that's Travis Kelce. It's different.
Let alone taking on an NFL guard in the run game.
Exactly.
The physicality of it all. Right.
Next, Chicago Bears, maybe the most fascinating team. Have they finally got it right? Quarterback coach in Chicago. Did they get better? And breakout players in the NFC North. Next. Today's episode of Peacock and Williamson is brought to you by Rugiet. And you've probably heard of Viagra, Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rugiet Ready. Rugiet Ready is a next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow. Unlike the usual pills that can take hours, Rugiet's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue and kicks in fast. On average, in 15 minutes, effects can last up to 36 hours, so you can stay confident and in control when the moment is right. If traditional options haven't worked, Rugiet might be the answer. Over 150,000 men have already made the switch, and it's completely online. Rugiet connects you with a board-certified doctor and ships your treatment discreetly to your door. So head to Rugiet.com/LockedOnNFL and use code LockedOnNFL to get 15% off today. That's Rugiet, RUGIET.com/LockedOnNFL and use promo code LockedOnNFL at checkout for 15% off. I'm not even going to ask the question. The Chicago Bears got better. How much better did they get from a 5-win team last year with now a second-year quarterback in Caleb Williams, and really the biggest change, and probably the biggest change you can make to your organization is, if not quarterback, it's head coach in Ben Johnson. I'm a believer.
I am too. I'm really excited about it. I keep mentioning expectations in this division, though. Like, I don't want, quote, getting better to be 6 or 7 wins and say Caleb Williams took a step forward, but I'm still not sure if he's the guy after 17 games. You know what I mean? They did so much around him, drafting 2 pass catchers high, totally just like the Vikings, totally revamped the interior of their O-line. There's no more excuses. You know what I mean? Like, Johnson, he handpicked them. It wasn't the other way around. He could have went to many different teams, I'm sure. He chose to go to the Bears. Okay, now it's time to live up to it. I mean, talk's great. But even last year, we talked about, man, is the first overall pick ever fallen into a better situation than Caleb Williams? It was a disaster. It's just easy to say in July.
Yeah. Yeah. And we've seen the Bears do this over and over and over again. Like
over, right.
We have a quarterback, have a good offensive coordinator for 2 straight years.
If this was the Eagles, I'd give them the benefit of the doubt, but like this team does not get the benefit of the doubt for developing quarterbacks.
And you thought, okay, so you bring in the superstar offensive coordinator. You already have Romo Dunze, the first round wide receiver from last year, and DJ Moore. You're going to go attack the offensive line. They did that in the offseason, okay. And then you're going to go attack the defensive line, pass rush, and some of those things. And what they do? They drafted a tight end and another wide receiver in the first and second round of the draft. In Colston Loveland in round 1, number 10 overall, and then Luther Burden, pick number 39, the second round. And man, an angry Luther Burden in that offense. I fully believe that, man, that Ben Johnson saw an Amon-Ra St. Brown type of role and player in Luther Burden. And if that hits, look out, because
it's exciting.
He's a super talented guy. And so there is a lot of talent around. Like, you get the best offensive coordinator that you could possibly get if you're Caleb Williams, and you have veteran and young talent everywhere to throw the football to. Go be good.
Go be good. No, right. Don't be the last team in the division. And okay, they won 2 more games than last year. And I don't know about Caleb. We haven't really touched on the defense. I think it's a good defense, but as aggressive as they were in the offseason and as many resources as they had, I would have liked to see more than an elderly Grady Jarrett and a Deo Ndinjigbo, whose name I destroy. I'm sorry, who I thought they overpaid. I would have liked to see one more impact D lineman.
Yeah, they brought in they had 2 firsts and 2 seconds, or no, they had 1 first and 3 seconds. Is that what it was? Yeah,
is that what it was?
Second round picks, and they drafted number 62 overall Shamar Turner, defensive tackle out of Texas A&M.
Yeah,
I think he was an underrated, sort of a 3 technique.
Yeah,
good player. I don't know how much impact he's going to make as a rookie, but they were kind of better on the interior already than the edge. But Montez Sweat,
I like Sweat.
But Bingo. I got his name wrong too. I was like, it's Deo. Deo is a big one. He's a big key for them there. They
gave him a lot of money though.
Yeah, and so they paid him to be the guy. But really, most of the work they did was on offense, and they brought in Joe Tooney and spent on Drew Dahlman. And so now you got Braxton Jones at left tackle, Tooney at left guard, Drew Dahlman at center, Jonah Jackson at right guard, Darnell Wright at right tackle. They drafted Ozzie Trapilo as well in the second round. To be potentially a future offensive tackle, maybe a right tackle. And they have Kieran Emegaji, who was kind of a forgotten redshirt guy from Yale last year, who has the traits to be a starting left tackle. Don't forget about him as well. So clearly offensive line is important to Ben Johnson, but they got a lot of playmakers as well. And kind of leaned into the offense. It's like, look, this is going to be my offense. I'm going to make it as great as I possibly can with all of this, and then we'll figure out defense. And they do have some players on defense, though. With Kevin Byard and Jalen Johnson and Jaquan Brisker, and so it's, Tremaine Edmonds, they spent a lot of money on a couple years ago. They've got talent there. And so this should be on paper a much improved team and a very good team. It's not a 5-win roster. So if you're winning 5, 6, 7 games, every team in this division should be a double-digit team. It doesn't usually happen that way, Matt. So what's going to get the Bears absolutely got better.
Chicago fans should be super excited. They absolutely got better. But I just want to pump the brakes, and this applies to McCarthy as well. I mean, it's a second-year quarterback and a head coach that's never been a head coach before. Does that always result in 11, 12 wins? Usually not, in a tough division. You're going to win 4 or 5 games in your division? I bet not.
Breakout players. Was it you that's really high on Roschon Johnson, running back for Chicago Bears?
Sort of as like a fantasy sleeper. Just because I think he might be the pseudo David Montgomery kind of by default. And he's also one of those dudes that coaches just love. Like he played a lot of special teams behind Bijan Robinson at Texas, and understands his role, and good in protection and reliable. And so, yeah, I think he is somebody I'm taking the last round of my fantasy draft.
And I think they could have done more maybe at running back in a deep running back class, but they must like what they have in DeAndre Swift and Roschon Johnson. And I also think you're doing it right. Build the offensive line, and whoever you put back there is going to be really good. Maybe you find another player eventually to be a star running back for you, but a two-headed monster, it takes multiple running backs to get through a season. So from that aspect, I like it.
I do too. And again, I think both of us are, I'm not using a first-round pick on a running back. Like, apparently they were real interested in Travion Henderson. That would be a wonderful addition if they could have had him, but that probably would have been at the expense of Burden, or somebody like that. Maybe that's next year's project. You build the interior O-line and everything else, and then you take a second-round running back. Okay, I can understand that. You can't have everything. Bears breakout players?
Yeah, well, I think Romo Odunze is one of the obvious ones you have to do here. Maybe Luther Burden as well. How much are they going to throw the football? DJ Moore is still there to take up a lot of targets as well. Colston Loveland versus Cole Kmet. How often is Loveland going to be out there? Is he going to be a bigger slot? Does that take away from Luther Burden being that slot sort of a role if in the Amon-Ra St. Brown sort of a vein? So it's a little bit, the picture is muddy about who's going to get all the targets and stuff on offense. So Roschon Johnson, like it, but it could be a backup. So I think there's a ton of breakout potential guys. I just don't know which one of it's going to be, but it's going to be one of Romo Odunze or Luther Burden or Roschon Johnson or Colston Loveland, or, potentially they're just chucking it all over the place and it's all of them, which means the breakout player is Caleb Williams.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny because I kind of typed the same thing. I said Burden and or Odunze is a breakout guy. Maybe it's only one of them, but I bet one of the two we're pretty darn excited about, and maybe both. I mean, I really like both prospects. Couple guys, other ones are the right tackle, which I enjoy. I think he's ready to take another step forward, maybe be a borderline Pro Bowl type dude. I wanted to mention Kyler Gordon. He's not somebody we talk about enough, but I think he's real similar to, there's so many good young slots in the league now, the Branches of the world. Gordon doesn't get talked about enough, but I think he's a real high-end, versatile, tough player. And here's maybe my favorite breakout guy that we've talked about yet, Gervin Dexter. I know this is kind of blasphemous, but I think he could be DeForest Buckner. I really think he's got a chance to be a versatile, long, 6'7", all over the defensive front star.
That's what he drafted him to be. And he's going to, I think, year 3, right? And we've seen some highlights from him, but not quite what I think they expected when they drafted him high in the second round, right?
Yeah, early second round.
Green Bay Packers, breakout players. We talked about Cooper, household name type of a player. I think Edgerrin Cooper could be one of the better linebackers in the NFL. We did the top 100 list right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. There was 3 off-ball linebackers in the top 100? There would have been 20 in the 90s and early 2000s.
Ray Lewis and Kuechly and right. And you're right. I do think Cooper has a chance to be, who's the next best linebacker other than Fred Warner? We might be like, it might be Cooper, a year from now. My other guys are on offense, are skill position players. And we had Peter on the show. He kind of understated it, but kind of thought Tucker Kraft might lead this team in receptions. I think he's a big time fantasy target for me. You mentioned Lloyd. He barely played last year. I think there's a lot of untapped ability there. He needs to hold on to the football. And I don't understand the usage of Jaden Reed, but I'm hoping that they realize that Reed and Golden are their best 2 guys and have to be the 2 receivers when there's 2 receivers on the field.
I mean, I think that's clearly what they're telling us. But he might, Romeo Doubs is there. It might be these are the outside guys. Reed is a slot. But
yeah, he's a little gimmicky and not an every down outside the numbers dude. And I think I would give him more of a shot to do that.
I'm with you. I like that a lot. Minnesota Vikings. It's all about JJ McCarthy. He's like the breakout player of the entire season. It's kind of too easy. He's a first-round quarterback that missed his entire rookie season, right, and has like the most obvious path to be the starter Sam Howell's his backup there. It's the JJ McCarthy season for the Minnesota Vikings. So all eyes on him. Fascinating how that turns out. I can't wait to watch him play. Obviously, he's one of the breakout players. Who else do you like as a breakout player in the Vikings this year?
Yeah, I typed his name as well. Your buddy Mason, if he gets an opportunity for even if it's 2-3 games, I think he could really shine in this system. And they went out of their way to trade for him. I love that.
Yeah, could he end up being the running back one? If you're trying to find look, Aaron Jones has been around for a long time, and running backs just don't last in this league. So you're looking for a guy who's Jordan Mason is a 5.2 yards per carry career guy, by the way. He has got a better yards per carry than Christian McCaffrey does as a 49er. So
he's hard to tackle.
He can run the football, and he's a load. So interesting tandem there.
I like it. Yeah, I think they definitely improved, and it was much needed. My last name, and I'm sure Viking fans already understand the impact he has on the game, is the young linebacker, Ivan Pace. He doesn't get talked about a lot because he was a super late pick or undrafted. He's become a really good football player, and I think people across the league the fans across the nation will start to learn that.
So I wrote down Dallas Turner. He's a super high draft pick. Everyone kind of forgot about him, and is he
a bust? Is he just quiet first year? That's a great one. They need him to be. They'll go a real long way if he does break out.
Yeah, and I don't know if we have the evidence that he's going to be, but I mean, he's too talented not to be, and they drafted him to be that guy, and
it's crazy we don't discuss him earlier. You know what I mean? Like, not only they trade up for McCarthy in that draft, they traded up for him.
Yeah, he has to earn a starting job before he can even break out, and there's not much of a path for him to do that with Greenard and Van Ginkel.
Very underwhelming rookie season. I got a couple for the Lions, and we can get out of here too.
Real quick one with the Minnesota Vikings. If Jordan Addison's suspended, like who's the other guy with Justin Jefferson aside from TJ Hawkinson or and the running backs? Is it Jalen Naylor? Like, could he have this big season? They brought in Rondale Moore, Ty Felton. Who's
That's a great question.
Second, third wide receiver here.
I do think Hawkinson wasn't quite himself, and he's another guy that I'm targeting in fantasy that I think could have a big year, and that was even before the suspension news of Addison. But you're right. I mean, you want to play a lot more. You want more than just Jefferson out there. I mean, is Jefferson going to get tripled every play that Addison's not out there?
So some movement with the Detroit Lions roster. Who are your breakout players here before we go?
Yeah, nothing too crazy. I think the first-round pick, Tyreek Williams, could be an immediate impact guy. I just kind of jotted down interior O-line. We had that conversation already. But my biggest one is last year's first-round pick, Arnold. I had read yesterday, actually, that he played the most man coverage snaps of any corner in the league last year. And he had a ton of penalties, and he had a very rocky rookie year, but no one had it harder than him either. The pass rush kind of dried up, and he's playing man coverage after coverage after coverage. I bet he learned a lot,
I love that one. Yeah, they put a lot on him. It was trial by fire there for the rookie last year. I'm looking at Tate Ratledge. I'm looking at that interior offensive line that we talked about. And someone like, I don't know, another pass catcher maybe, aside from Sam Laporta, Jameson Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Could Jameson Williams take another step? Obviously, Jahmyr Gibbs, we could talk about kind of instead of being like a 50-50 split with Montgomery, is Jahmyr Gibbs just the number one guy? That's the way everyone's treating him in fantasy leagues. I'm not so sure about that. I think it's smarter to fantasy-wise, it's great. Football-wise, it's not. So, like, I don't putting all my eggs in the Jahmyr Gibbs basket as freakishly talented as he is. But I'm not finding a name like Isaac Tesla. Could he be a breakout player?
I had a hard time with the Lions. I mean, other than Arnold, I did not see guys that were obvious because a lot of them already have broken out. They're really
right. And then the ones that are, have clear new paths to play, Mahogany, Ratledge, right, would be the other ones.
Here's a weird one, and I hope it doesn't happen. I'm not wishing ill will on Jared Goff, but I wonder what Hendon Hooker would do. You know what I mean? We've seen nothing of this guy, Right.
That's one of those where you need an injury, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, it's not going to be Kyle Allen. So Hendon Hooker, they drafted him very high.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of pedigree there. He was injured. You knew that. The people were buzzing about him in his draft.
There you go. Who are your favorite breakout players in the NFC North? Did your team get better? Let us know at BD Peacock, at Williamson NFL. Drop a comment on YouTube. Back tomorrow. NFC South right here. Peacock and Williamson.